The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. This is Ken Quigley from Keystroke, and we have started our presentation. Just a couple of housekeeping issues. What we have on screen right now is our homepage, and the reason we're going to just quickly cover this is we often get people that have to step away during the middle of the presentation and are unable to return, so there's always questions afterwards about the availability of recordings. So, Billy, if I can ask you to just scroll down the screen. And you see these buttons on the right-hand side. At the very bottom, we have our 3 training buttons. So without clicking on any of them, the first one is the training schedule, where you can return to at any point and see which subjects we're covering. The second one, free training videos, actually brings you to the link of the SwiftPage training videos, which covers all subjects. The last one is the Keystroke training videos, and those ones are the ones that we record during these sessions. Okay, that's the first point. Second point is please submit your questions through the chat window, and I'll review them. If I think there's something very, very pertinent that I need to stop Billy, I'll do so. Otherwise, he's going to carry through and pause and request questions at the end of each section. The third thing is that we're going to be covering a number of different advanced subjects. A number of the people that are going to be watching this are going to be Pro subscribers, Premier subscribers, and Ultimate subscribers, or in AMA parlance, you'll be Select, Complete, or Advanced. We're going to be covering features that are available in each of them. So some of them will be at the very, very top level, and you would need the top level subscription available. But some of the real powerful stuff we'll be covering mostly is available in the middle tier. Okay, so without further ado, Billy, take it away.
Thank you very much, Ken. All right, guys. So pretty much one of the focuses that I want to have on today is I want you to, at the end of this, understand what assets are, how they can be used to modify your campaigns, and how you can pull good information from those assets in regards to who's looking at them, and even in some cases, use this as a way of getting new leads. We're going to be looking at each of the 3 major types of assets, and we're going to do some other things. Now, you probably hear some background noise. I do apologize. There's a man with a leaf blower running around my house, so if it becomes hard to hear, we need to repeat something, let me know. Unfortunately, I can't avoid that. Let's go ahead and get into the thick of it a little bit. In previous sessions, we've made a couple of campaigns regarding our decision trees. So I just want to visit each one of the sections we've done so far. We made a whole bunch of decision trees here. We're going to be able to add assets into campaigns like this, and later on make those a part of our decision trees. And then last week we made an inbound customer flow where someone fills out a web form, or a landing page as they're called in AMA, and that fed into this campaign so that we could pull that information down. Thank you so much for all the participation last week. That really let that campaign shine, and we could see what was going on. And I was able to do an additional thing called scoring, which we lightly touched on at the end, but I'll show you how that scoring happened later on in this webinar if we have time. So let's start talking a little bit about assets. Assets are exactly what they sound like. They're something that you own, you host, and AMA is able to utilize that to kind of set up a flow of what sort of information your customers are able to see from a campaign standpoint. Just like in the actual campaign section, assets are organized as campaigns. They're asset campaigns. And we're going to make a brand new one here. Assets. And then, of course, as usual, I put my name on everything just to make it easy for me to find later. So the first type of asset I'm actually going to show you is it's actually going to be a website. You have 3 options here, which is PDF, YouTube, and web. And YouTube and web are very similar, but YouTube has some extra features, and we will get into that shortly. And then that's going to lead us into some fun parts. But we're going to start off with web. We're going to make this very simple. I'm going to call it website. That's it. And that's the Keystroke CA website. That's all I'm going to put for right now. And then you can either select from an asset that already exists. At this point, let's assume that we don't have any assets. So we're going to say upload or create new asset. And we're going to put in the Keystroke website. And that's all I'm going to put here. So if you're following along, go ahead and just put in your website or a simple website that you can use, and it'll kind of give you an explanation of what's going on. We're going to extend further on this and actually have multiple websites as assets when we get into A/B testing. So now that I've created the asset, I'll see right here there's a website asset that's set up with two different URLs. There's a shortened URL and a longer URL. And if you remember previously when we were doing landing pages, we could actually modify that URL. We can do that here. We can hit change URL and we can request, we'll do AM April 4. Save that. And look at that. So it went ahead and it shortened at least part of this to make it nice and easily consumable. If I click on this link, it will pop up and it'll show you exactly what your customer is going to see when they click on that. The importance of having an asset for a website, I mean, we could have just linked to an asset in a campaign. The difference there is if you have all of your assets set up in groups, you can add those assets into your campaigns and everybody will always have that same link. And you can start really pulling in numbers on how many people click on these links from here. This is additional reporting for you to understand what goes on. Let's take a quick look. Again, for the websites, if you edit the asset, there's only so much you can do. You can add things like authors and how many pages deep that technical asset is, so that when you're reporting on it later, you can just see how many pages people click through. There's also, they come with home research and goal as asset categories. The categories pretty much only show up on the campaign dashboard, which I'll show you in a moment. But you can also hit the exclude button, and this will exclude them from reporting, is the way that it's intended to work. You'll see I clicked on that link, so I've already got an impression. Even when I'm testing it, it gets an impression because I'm an untracked person that clicked on this specific link. You can also use this to kind of understand what your cost per click is if you do have a website where there is a cost per interaction that you have to track. Or if there's an average revenue per lead. So when we get to the point where we're starting to create leads, we can start reporting about how much money that you're expected to make for every one of the leads that are generated. Before we add in additional assets, I just want to show you the dashboard. So this is a very basic dashboard. Since there's only one unique impression from me, there's not going to be much data on here, but there is a red dot here for the total number of impressions, and this goes on per day that the asset is live. So you can kind of get a track on how often this is hit, or this is a good way to really kind of understand if your website gets a certain amount of views at certain parts of the month or year. You can use this to kind of understand what your high and low times are for foot traffic. And I don't know about you, but personally, whenever you're trying to understand, especially if you're on a monthly sales cycle, like what part of the month people are going to your site the most, this is a really good way to follow up on that. I don't have any leads on here, so you're not going to see this, but it actually gives you a pretty rudimentary view on where all of your leads and impressions come from. For some reason, mine shows that I'm in Mexico. I'm not, but that's where it shows every single time that I've done those. So I think that's just something specific to my account. But if you start seeing other leads across, North America or even, overseas, you can actually start kind of understanding where data ingress comes in from for your website or for your asset. So I'm going to go through the other two assets before I continue forward. Ken, are there any questions currently in chat about what I've spoken about?
No, but one of your fans does say hola.
Oh,
yeah.
Hello.
Seeing as you were born and raised in Mexico, or it's just a flashback to your misspent youth.
We don't talk about those parts of my life. So let's go ahead and add in a second asset here, because I said I wanted to show you each one of the asset types. PDF is very specific. I need to find a good PDF that I want to use for this, so we're going to make one here in just a minute. Actually, let's see if I can make one right now. Here we go. I'm going to make one. We're going to attach this guy in here. That'll be a nice one. We're going to do a PDF, and you can't see what's happening on this side of the screen right now. I do apologize about that. We're going to make a PDF of one of the Keystroke websites.
Billy, while we're working on that, there was a question if someone does find when they're looking at the map and they're plotted in Mexico, is there a way to edit that, or is that their new fate?
That is their new fate. Unfortunately, there's no way for you to edit that data. That data just gets delivered and comes through as is.
Okay.
So unfortunately, if everybody's listed in Mexico, then everybody's listed in Mexico.
Okay. Well, for some, that'll be an upgrade.
Yep. And then we're going to, I'm going to go ahead and upload a brand new asset. And just for a quick moment, I need to pause my screen sharing just to make sure I don't show anything I don't need to show. And then I'll be right back with you guys. So sorry about that.
Yeah, and if anyone has any questions about, the terminology assets, what the objective of using assets, please feel free to add that into the question queue. But assets are basically clickbait. You're trying to get people to engage with you by tempting them with something that hopefully they can download or read. But the nice thing about assets is that you can actually control the manner in which it's consumed. So, Billy's going to be publishing this. I don't want to preempt him too much, but it is nice if you have a document that you think is of public interest. The top 9 questions you should ask yourself before buying a CRM, those kind of things. That would be clickbait. People will click through on that, be prompted to fill out a form, and therefore you've baited them, you've engaged them. Okay, and that's what the whole assets is, and then obviously the tracking side he's going to cover as well. But that's the premise behind asset tracking.
Yeah, that's very well explained, Ken. Thank you. So I just took our Keystroke website, specifically the sections here on Acro Suite. I turned it into a PDF, and I've stored it here on my desktop. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and grab that desktop item. I'm going to upload that PDF as an asset, and I'm just going to click Upload and be done. So now I've got 2 assets, and this one is a PDF. But we get some extra options with PDFs that we don't have with websites. So down here, it just says website. If we go to the properties, there's no set properties is grayed out for a website. But for a PDF, we get to do some fun stuff. And these properties are going to exist in a slightly different form in the next link, which I do, which is a YouTube. So I just want you to understand that anytime you have an asset, there's 2 sections. There's actions, which add in a bunch of portions, but that's the entire asset. And the individual properties are under the properties section. They put these very close to each other, and they run over each other sometimes. So just, if you don't see something here, just go to the next one. So let's set some properties for this PDF. This is where things get a little bit fun. You can turn off the ability for people to save your PDF. I mean, that forces them to come back to your website if they want it, or they have to really work hard to get a copy of that PDF.
Or basically consume it in that one click through, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because then you're not allowing them to say, well, I'll look at this later, because you don't want them to look at that later. You want them to look at that right now, because that's how you get your leads.
And more importantly, if they download it, then you're losing the exclusivity of its distribution. Right now, they can only consume it by clicking through and filling out a form. If you make it downloadable, then they can turn around and distribute it and reduce your click-throughs.
Correct. There's an option here, which is a very fun one. And because understand, they're trying to brand all of these assets in such a way that they look like they're yours. So at the top left corner of every website, whenever you're looking at one of the tabs, there's usually an icon. And Keystroke has their own icon, for instance, on the website. When you go over to keystroke.ca, it's the little guy up here on the top that you see. We're going to go ahead and we're going to use the show website option. And we're going to do the Keystroke one, which is just keystroke.ca. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then that's going to pull that orange in whenever we go to do the final click on this. You'll see that in the as if it was their what was called a favicon. That'll show in here. And then we're going to send a notification. We can send notifications anytime anybody looks at this PDF to a specific email address. I'm not going to spam anybody today. I would normally spam Vic here, but he's not here and he's defenseless.
That's the way I like Vic.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let's go over to lead form though, because this is the point. This is the fun part. Under the lead forms, you can enable the lead form, and there's several steps to this. But as soon as you select this, it's going to fill out the rest of this page. These are pre-created forms. It's either a full contact form or email only. I prefer the full contact form because if anybody's coming through this link, I want to make sure that they're updating their stuff. And if they forward this link to someone else, or you share this to your Facebook, you don't necessarily know who clicks on it. Or if you put it up on Twitter, because these links, you can send them anywhere. You can, there's over here on the right, there's share sections for that, but you can do this yourself. You can just take that link and you can say, hey guys, check out this PDF that I just made, or check out this video.
The one thing I'm just going to say to you, Billy, and I'm sure I'm going to interrupt you more than Vic does, but when you have a full contact form versus email only, obviously, if you're looking to maximize the quantity of completions, the less you're asking, the more completions you're likely to get. So there's a bit of a balance there. And since ACT does a very good job of duplicate checking against emails, you'll be able to reconcile if you already have that contact in your database and follow up with needed. So it's always a bit of a balance. More is more, but sometimes it reduces the completions. Yeah,
and know your audience. If you're sharing a form or a PDF or anything to Twitter, you want to do less usually because, Twitter itself as a platform is designed on limitation. There's a limited number of characters. That's why you don't see, you see like 10 or 15 tweets on longer conversations instead of, one really long tweet or one really long post like you see on Facebook. So definitely know your audience. So this lead form, I'm going to go ahead and leave it on full contact form for now. But you can trigger it on a specific page or how long they've looked at this PDF. So if I would never suggest that you do it this low, but if I put it at a very low number of 0.1 minutes, and you can change it to hours, or actually let's just do 20 seconds. Let's just do it that way. It will allow you to pull up a form, and that form it can either require or not for you to fill out that information. For this purpose, I'm not going to select allow form cancellation. I'm going to force you to fill out that form to continue to look at my PDF. It's kind of a mean thing to do. I usually suggest give your a chance to cancel it because you don't want to force an interaction on someone. But if you're using this as a form of like sense of urgency type sales tactic, much like the timer that you see on TV shopping channels, like where it's like you think you've got them trapped after so long and you know that they're hooked, like put a 5-minute timer on the PDF if it's a long PDF and just say, hey, fill out this information. But otherwise, I strongly suggest you go ahead and allow form cancellation. The GDPR checkbox, we've kind of spoken a little bit about GDPR, and again, we'll be going over a little bit about that in the deliverability session, but that's the general data protection regulation over in the EU. You are required to pretty much say, hey, this is what my company is, and this is what I plan on sending you. And so you can enable this if you're going to be targeting people overseas or anybody that's going to be in the EU economic area. If you have Google Analytics, you can actually tie this asset directly into your Google Analytics system. I don't currently have a Google Analytics account, so I'm going to try to put together a video specifically on this in the future. I just need to sign up and understand and consume this and get that out to you guys. But then we're going to add one more section, and this is a very basic way for you to customize the look and feel of this PDF. So we're going to say keystroke, AMA pricing is just, I'm going to put a title on here. There's some header text. Below is the pricing and feature comparisons for ACT growth suite. And then, of course, you can change the colors of the background headers or the text just like you could everywhere else. You can't type in this box like you can in other places unless you go to HSV first. Ken, what's your orange?
Oh, Thank you. F. I'm having performance issues. I can't remember it.
Okay. We'll use another orange then. An orange I know. I'm going to keep and I only want to make it orange just so you guys can see where it's at. And then for a background nav bar, I'm just going to make it a little gray, and then the background body, I'm going to make a lighter gray, just so you guys can see the different sections whenever this goes up. So these are the individual options that we have here. We're going to really look at this lead form, and we're going to see how this looks here. So I'm going to save this asset. And now when I open the asset, this is a preview window within Axe, so it isn't very performant. You'll see there's the basic customization we have where we're able to get that orange background, that black text that we selected. There's the header bar that's slightly darker, or kind of a dark gray, and then there's the background, which is a lighter gray, which is much harder for you guys to probably see. But here we are inside of a PDF. I have the option to print this. I don't have the option to save it. And then within 20 seconds, here we go. It's popping up a lead form. Now I can no longer scroll or do anything on this PDF. I have to fill out this information to continue. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill me out here. So I can't do letters here, which is what I would normally do. Whenever I type the keystroke phone number, it's always act bold. So I'm just going to, because I can't remember what the things are right now, I'm just going to put in some numbers. So I filled it out, and now I can continue through this presentation, which, or this PDF that was created for me. But what I've just done is I've just created a lead. So we're starting to kind of see where this is going to take us here. I'm done with that PDF and close out. Next time I open this asset up, I'm going to see the impression, and then shortly the leads created will eventually, actually, I apologize, over here is the PDF. The leads created did jump up. It'll say how many form starts. So how many times was the form popped up, but nobody ever completed it out? This is really, really important because form conversion is lead conversion. So if you see that your form starts are in the hundreds, but your form completions are in the single digits, then you may want to modify how your form is either set up or when it pops up. So before I move on to YouTube videos, do we have any questions on this?
Billy, will it show you how much of the document, because that document had 8 pages, will you get any kind of indication saying that the person consumed 6 of the 8 pages or 7 of the 8 pages to kind of get a sense of you know, how much interest they had? So the individual assets do have a dashboard that's involved with them. And in this case, it does show you simply what I've already shown you there. But I don't believe it shows you total page numbers or time on a video, for instance. Yeah, it's designed to do that. For some reason, it didn't show me that I was there for more than one page because I did go down several pages. Mm-hmm. And it hasn't quite tracked my time. Now, anytime there's even though they call a lot of this like real time according to the way stats are produced should be 24 hours. So there's a good chance that this is going to pop up during our presentation if this information was properly tracked. We'll look into a little bit more about how like this affects videos, because I think videos actually do track a little faster. But it is intended to. I don't have data on there right now. And then we'll go into a little bit about how each one of those goes. Anything else? Without going into this particular dashboard, is there any other way that that this can be flagged, or the marketing team or sales team can be alerted?
Through the notifications is about the only way to do it. Whenever we're setting up these assets, we can have notifications sent out to anybody that fills them out, which I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong screen for that. So you can send notifications about what happens on each one of these. So if there's a form fill, it will send them an email, or if there was an incompleted form fill, it should send them an email as well. So so you kind of get the end result of it before it comes in here. But that's the only other way that I could think of. And especially if you're worried about like conversions, like form conversions, like that's a good way to make sure that someone can be notified without ever even having access to your AMA account.
Good.
So I started to add YouTube assets into our asset tracker earlier. And then when I did that, I decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to start searching for keystroke videos. And when I was actually looking for keystroke videos, actually, we're going to step out. I'm going to show you what I found, which is down here just a little bit, is these web planner videos that were already put in by one of my great coworkers. And if we go into these assets, we're going to see each one of our videos that we have on the Keystroke YouTube for web planner. So what I'm about to do is I'm about to add those same YouTube videos, at least a couple of them, to my own assets, but the URL for each one of those assets is going to be different. Now, when we were talking about templates and campaigns a couple of weeks ago, I made it a point to mention that anytime we create this type of record in here, that it's instantiated from other ones that are similar. So a template is one thing, but the email in the campaign is an instanced version of that template, and they're completely unrelated. They just pulled the information initially, and then you can make changes, and you can revert back to them. In this case, since these have already been put into an asset campaign, that's okay. AMA doesn't check for duplicates of these videos, and it doesn't reuse any links, so everything is instantiated. The reason that's a good thing is you may have multiple campaigns where you have the same asset content as an end result, but you want them to function differently, or you want to report on them differently. I might make a sales campaign using some of these web planner videos that is far more successful, and clicks on my links won't affect clicks on these links, if that makes sense.
Billy, I want you to just make me presenter for one moment while I demonstrate what the email lead looks like. I don't know if you covered that last week.
I did not.
Okay.
There you go. You are now presenter.
Okay. Perfect. Do you see that?
I do, yes.
Okay, so that's what you'll get in your inbox. Obviously, select the person put in the email that will be distributing the leads, and not to any one person like in marketing and that. But this is the way it's going to look. So he filled that out, he consumed the asset, and we immediately got notified of that. Okay, let me make you presenter again. Go ahead.
Excellent. Okay, you should be able to see my act now, yes?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to go back into my assets campaign. We're going to add in a couple of YouTube videos. You know what? I kind of want to do this in a different way. So I'm going to add the asset. We're going to show you how it is, and then we're going to expand that asset a little bit. And then we're going to have a little bit of fun with different types of functions of assets. So let's go ahead and add this new asset. And we are going to add in a YouTube video. We're going to go web planner. Okay. And we're going to upload a brand new asset. Even though this asset does exist in another one, I could technically reuse it. I want to go ahead and show you guys how to start fresh. So here is the first of the web planner videos that I'm going to use. And down here, you'll see this, just like the PDF and the website, you'll see its own little web planner section. And we're going to go in and we're going to set the properties on this YouTube video and show you the differences between this and PDF. And that'll, I think, make things a little bit more clear for you guys. So again, we're going to use the same website icon. You can use any website you want, even if you don't technically control it. If you like their icon, you could technically steal it. For the lead form, though, we have a little bit different options. Not much different. There's still time is the big thing. Or you can force it to show at the end of the video. And that form cancellation checkbox is still here. So the reason why this is kind of important is if you have a video where you're really trying to kind of clickbait them in a sense, is you you build them up in the course of this video, and at a certain time code, you're about to give them the answer that you've been talking about this entire time. You know, like, what's our secret to this? How do we do this? Your video content can build them up to and kind of get them to want to stay there, and then you can insert a contact form right at that moment, and then they have to fill out that contact form to get your answer. Or if you're not being mean, of course, you can allow form cancellation. Now, I do have it set to show the form at a specific time interval, but I also have it checked to show the form at the end of the video. So pretty much if they don't fill out the form at that time, at the end of the video, it will show up again. So you kind of do both. I don't necessarily suggest you do both. Just go ahead and hit them up with the one time when you want, or hit them up at the very end of the video. It's really entirely on you. Know your audience and kind of set up what your goal is for marketing. Like, how do you want to get emails, or how do you want to collect information from your possible leads? Just like PDFs, we have Google Analytics, and we have the same look and feel. But we can still put in the different background. And then we'll do a dark gray nav bar and a lighter gray nav, or a background body, just like we did previously. I'm gonna save that, and that is it. Actually, you know what? Surprised you didn't call me out on this. I didn't put anything in the header text. I'm just gonna put this as the header so you can tell which one it is. There we go. So now whenever we click on this, we're gonna have about a minute into this video, it's going to pop up with a contact form, and I'll skip ahead for you guys so we don't have to watch the whole video. So this is the header. There's the title for Web Planner videos, but we're going to skip forward because I put it at 1 minute. We're going to skip in 55 seconds in, and this form should show. Let me just turn the volume down for you guys. And at 1 minute, it pulled down asking me for my email address. Or I can cancel out. We did allow for cancellation, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit submit, and the video plays on like normal. Now, can't remember if I left it flagged, but if you leave it flagged for form at the end and they haven't filled out the form, at the end it will give them the form pop-up. I did not leave it flagged that way. So in essence, we've got the same thing we do with a PDF, where we have a time code, or you can have a page code, or I can just have a form show up at the end of a video, and that's gonna be flagged out. The only downside is, as you can see, this is a pretty plain looking website. They're currently looking into making this a little better, but this is how these videos are going to show whenever you click from one of the sites, because they are hosted through the AMA system. But the good side of that is, I don't know about any of you, if you're avid YouTubers, YouTube is designed to get you to go from one video to the next almost mindlessly, and you don't want to have a mindless interaction when it comes to something like an asset that's intended to pull a lead into your flow. So this is actually a good thing. It cuts out on all the extra stuff.
In terms of video sources, it doesn't make any distinction between YouTube and Vimeo, correct?
It does not make any sort of distinction between those. It only whenever you're making the asset, when you select YouTube, that specifically hooks into the YouTube API to understand at what moment in the playback it is. So that's the only difference. Now, when it comes to making like a website asset, though, you could always point to just about anything you want for those assets.
So just for those that are interested, if they do get into videos, YouTube is largely a free service, but when you get into something like Vimeo, you can get, for as little as $10 a month, a lot more editing control, and you can control how videos end with tiles or to links to other videos. So something to consider if this is something you're going to get more and more into. All of our training videos are converted with Vimeo.
Oh yeah, they look great. They look fantastic. So before I go on to the fun part of multiple YouTube videos, do we have any questions in chat?
Nothing. I'm handling them so far.
Perfect. So there's more than one Web Planner video that we had on there, though. And let's just say, for the purpose of trying to understand, hey, I wonder which one of my Web Planner videos is going to get a better response, right? So in this case, I've got a web planner video, and this one at 1 minute, it's got a form fill. Well, what if I don't know how my audience is going to handle a single email versus a larger form? Or what if I don't know if one video style doesn't, it really connects to them while another one doesn't? And so for that purpose, we have a system, of course, called A/B testing. Now, if you're not familiar with A/B testing, it's kind of a marketing term. It's usually the idea is that you have two different paths and you test to see which one is better. And this is something that is only available on the ultimate/advanced tier of AMA. So I want to show you two different cool reasons to use this. One's going to be with these YouTube videos, and another one is going to be one that a little demonstration I put together today that I was very happy with, and this is a little self-serving. So we're going to add an A/B test here. And in doing so, it asks us to create a new asset. So I'm going to make a brand new asset. Now, the asset has to be the same type. So if it's a website, it's a website. If it's a PDF, it's a PDF. And if it's a YouTube video, it's a YouTube video. So we're going to call this one Web Planner Team, which is the name of one of the other videos, the subjects of one of the other videos. And yeah, Web Planner Team video. And I'm just going to grab the URL for that YouTube video. Perfect. And then I can put in an asset link if I want to. I'm not going to put the link of the asset. That's kind of important if you want to understand or if you want to limit the asset's total length, but I'm going to leave it at 0 seconds just as is. I've never seen an actual change in how the analytics happen if you do add an asset link to that though, so don't feel like you absolutely have to. But what this does is now we've got our Web Planner team and we've got Web Planner. So let's edit the properties on the Web Planner team. Let's change the lead form to only show at the very end. Let's not allow form cancellation, and let's make it a full contact form. So the Web Planner one is just an email. It happens at 1 minute and at the end, and you can cancel. And in this case, this one, I'm going to not have one show. So we can do 0 minutes, I believe, should clear that off to where it doesn't show at all until the very end of the video. And I'm not going to worry about any of the other functions here. I'm also going to leave the look and feel on default. And that's mainly so, again, with A/B testing, you're trying to figure out what's working. So having differences across the board is how you should go. And then, but I am going to keep my icon because that's very important to me. And we're going to save this. So now I've got two assets, but it's under one link. So when I click this link the first time, I'm going to get the Web Planner Time video, which is the original one that we did. And it's going to play through just like we did. Everything that we set up earlier is going to be appropriate. So at about 1 minute into this video, it should show up with the form. Actually, I've already filled out the form, so it won't show up for me here. And then if I click on the same link again, there's the Web Planner. Oh, actually, it came up with Web Planner Time. I tell you what, let's open this in a browser. It wants to make me wrong today. So I'm gonna actually go. Let's use an incognito window so that we know we're not hitting any cookies. All right, and so immediately I've got a form pulling up. So that tells me that I do have to change because I put that timer to 0 on this one. So that's probably what's going on here. So I'm going to cancel the form, and this is the Web Planner team. Let me just mute that. Sorry, the Web Planner team video. So that is the second asset that we set up. If we open up a new incognito window, this one should put me because it's supposed to split back and forth. It's not random. So there we go. And this is the other video, which is the Web Planner Time. So we've got both videos going through off of a single link. And if I put this into a template for a campaign, I'm going to be able to say, I could still have my same campaign flows of, a decision tree where it says, hey, if somebody clicked on this link, then that's fine. But my marketing manager, he's going to come back later on, take a look at these assets, and he's going to see which one of these videos, led to conversions. So I'm just going to exit and re-enter. It's the easiest way for me to refresh. And so I see here, because it's ordering by impressions and leads, so I've got 3 impressions, so 3 times this has been opened. And then it says 2 form starts with form conversions, and that's just because I opened it twice myself after I had filled it out. But only 1 technical lead was created because the dedupe is based off of email address. So I've just done an A/B test. I've just set it up so that I can look at each one of these assets, and I can say, hey, this is what's going on. Later on, when I go into the dashboard, I'm actually going to see a little bit of a comparison between these individual assets, not just where these forms come from, but it will be like this bottom section will be the both of them just say Web Planner on them, I think. Oh, okay. So this is the Web Planner team, which is the second video I created. And the Web Planner time at the bottom is just the regular Web Planner. So it shows 2 impressions because I opened it twice.
Now, Billy,
any question?
Yeah, just one question. We covered the emails that get sent out anytime one of these assets forms are completed. Is there any way of building inbound workflow from the into Axe? So if a form is completed, such and such on the sales team will automatically have a follow-up call scheduled, say the next day.
So primarily, whenever you're looking at an inbound flow like that, you're probably going to want to use like web forms or landing pages for that. I haven't actually personally gone through and tried to create an inbound flow from an asset. Okay. So I don't actually have all the information on that.
Oh, and that's fine. It's good to know that the forms are a better tool for that.
Yeah, that's the way I strongly suggest. I mean, this is a real way of getting leads, but the biggest thing for me is whenever I've got a lead that comes off of a YouTube video or off of a PDF, this is probably someone who is just first engaging with my product. And these links can be directly hosted on your website. You can put this link as a URL on your website. When they click on it, it's going to go to this asset. So it's going to take care of controlling everything. The primary focus on this are people that really want to understand who's consuming their assets, and they don't necessarily have the infrastructure to do that themselves. And AMA is that infrastructure in that case. So whereas I can take a website link in a campaign or a YouTube link in a campaign, and I can understand, hey, these campaigns are working better than that just from the assets view in regards to these are the things that I want to have happen. But if I put any of these on my website, I'll get more information on who are the people who are starting to engage with us from the get-go. That lead email, a lot of times that does need to go into an inbound workflow, usually, especially with those notifications. They're designed to kind of get your employees on top of, hey, look, this person is interested. Let's go ahead and add them into Axe. Let's start talking to them. And if you set up all of your Axe groups properly, that kind of becomes the more, or the less automated, the more manual, but still inbound workflow from a more personal side of things. But that's a great question, and I think I'm going to look into that and see if there is a way that we can make sure these assets get put into an inbound workflow in the case of a lead form fill.
But that's actually useful. If you can, at the very least, create a group that's populated with people that respond to these forms, then it's much, much easier to build outbound workflow from that.
Agreed, completely agreed, and I will definitely research into that.
Good.
We're going to do one more A/B test. I just want to kind of show you the fun, kind of a fun thing that I liked. We're going to make a new asset, and we're going to call it blogs. And it's going to be a website, of course. And we're going to steal a couple of blogs here. Now, the first blog I'd like to steal is what we're doing right now, AMA month at Keystroke. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to make a brand new asset out of it. And down here, I'm going to see my little blogs website. If I edit the asset, I'll be able to put in things like descriptions. So that was actually kind of a thing I wanted to show you. So we created an asset called blogs, and it just named it blogs. Even though there's categorically there's blogs, just like there was categorically there was website and it added website. Categorically there was web planner and it added web planner. That kind of caused me some confusion later because what I should have probably done is come back in here and call this web planner time, because that way that asset on reporting would show separately. The same thing just happened for blogs. So what I'm going to do is the properties, I'm going to edit this asset, And instead of just calling this website that I made blogs, we're going to call it exactly what it is. And then for description, I'm going to go ahead and just take the first paragraph here. I'm going to copy and paste in the description. So from my end of things, whenever I'm looking at this asset, I'm like, oh, this is what this asset is. I can just look in here and say, this is the right one that we want. And then I'm just going to hit save. That's all I'm going to do. We're going to add in more assets, but we're going to do so with A/B testing. So we're going to create a brand new asset, and we're going to go to another blog where we are introducing these keystroke services. So so it's doing it a different way. So we're going to add the keystroke AMA services. We're going to add the description, just like we did last time. And I'm going to take the URL. I'll put it here in the asset URL. I'm just going to clean this up because there is a max number of characters here. So we'll just go ... Okay. And then I can even add authors in here as well. Since these are blog posts, each one of our blog posts on the Keystroke site, they are authored by someone. So I'm going to go ahead and put Ken Quigley in here. So now we've done the exact same thing we did with our YouTube videos, but we're going to keep going. So we're going to go to a third one, and this was a little self-serving. This is whenever I joined, of course. So we're just going to take the subject for this blog.
I don't need byline credit for that one, Greg or Billy.
Okay, that's fair. And then we'll add in an asset URL, and we'll just blame Vic, and then we'll hit save. So now I've got 3 websites. Now, since these are each individually blogs, what I could put in my website is, hey, check out one of our blogs. I could put 30 of these things in here. The idea is every time they click on that link, they're going to get a random blog. That could be a very fun thing just on your website. Hey, click random blog, and you can see how long someone's on one of your blogs, for instance. Let's do a quick test on this one. I'll make a new incognito window. And I'm going to take that URL that I've put into an email, or I've clicked on my website, or even I've scanned it on a QR code. And so here's the first blog. So if I close out of this and make a new incognito window, you should cycle over to the next one on the list. So you're starting to see a couple different ways where a single click, a single URL can link to multiple one of your assets simply by existing together. And then later on, whenever you come back into AMA, you can see which one of these led to form fills, especially with those videos or those PDFs, which one of those converted. And that gives you information that you didn't have previously. Where is your audience coming from? What do they like about the content you've put forward? And how well is that converting over into leads? Head back over in AMA. Let's refresh this. And here we go. We start to see that I've had 2 impressions. 2 people have clicked it. Now, websites don't give you that set properties, so you're not able to set it up to where forms are filled out there. So what I strongly suggest is if you are going to use something like this, consider having, if it's on your own website, why don't you go ahead and toss in a landing page that was created to be hosted on your website. Then you already have the form organically on your website, and that does automatically feed into an inbound flow that you've made like we did last week. Are there any questions in chat at this point, Ken?
Nope.
Perfect. There is a portion of this that I unfortunately I wanted to show you, but I can't. But I'm going to explain it to you as best I can. I'll show you where it is. Under Act Marketing Automation in the top right corner, only administrators have access to the admin menu. If you have questions on whether or not you're an admin on there, we can let you know, but pretty much that's any user in Act who has the AMA admin permission, or if you're just an administrator in your Act database, you should see this. If you don't, we may need to make some corrections to your account to make sure that happens. Under this section is a lot of the tools that I've shown you in the past. This is where we can find all of our email transactional data, or we can look at Act History Sync. But down here at the bottom is this special section for web scripts. Now, what this is going to do is just like when we were dealing with landing pages and you had a landing page that was just a block of code that you needed to put on your website and give to your IT guy or whatnot, or your web guy to put in, we do the same thing here. It generates a web script. Unfortunately, because of the nature of our account, we can't right now. It's something I just found out about an hour ago, and so we're going to try to get this corrected, and I'll try to put a video up on it as soon as possible. But this script, I had this on one of my personal websites for a while. Anytime someone visits your site, much like how Google Analytics works, it does a little bit of big brothering. It does record a little bit about what happens. And it specifically says, hey, you had a visitor to your site from this region of the world. Usually it's specific to city if you're in North America. And it says, hey, they were on your website for this long. These are some of the places they went. And we don't have any further information. It doesn't like try to steal any of your information or anything like that. But if I had a landing page that I had also generated from AMA and they had gone there, hung around on my site for a while, and then filled out that landing page, then it would associate that information in because it creates a cookie for that user. So you could say, hey, so-and-so visited your website today. He was in these sections for so long. And they're actually in the process of extending how that website tracking works and how those responses are. Earlier on, Ken showed you an email from one of those form fills. That is very similar to the email that you receive whenever someone comes to your site. It simply says, hey, someone was here. Here's the basic information. It's a pretty straightforward email. Later on, whenever you get, if they do have a landing page that they fill out and they do get that cookie, that information is used in scoring from that session forward. We didn't get to talk too much about scoring last week. So I kind of want to show you how that scoring would look today. So if you go back under admin, as soon as you click admin, you're in your scoring section. And last week we kind of made a score for completing a landing page, and that gave you a score of +5. And we set it to where it would accumulate. So we had some people that filled it out a whole bunch. And then I've mapped all of those scores to a custom field in ACT. It's just user 1. That's where I decided to push them. There are additional scoring types. While I showed you the fact that they were there, we didn't go into them. But there are web pages visited. So you can have specific URLs which can come straight off of your campaigns or the website itself. Because if they click on your website from one of your email campaigns, they should be cookied with the email address that they clicked from. If it's the same email address, of course, you sent it to. When you're on one of these websites, you can do the same type of thing. If they visit your website, they get a score. You can set how far back you want that score to go and if that accumulates. So if I leave this at 1 and I see that days back are 90, I can see how many sessions they were on my website for the last 90 days just by looking at their current score. So now I can do these with individual clicks. I can add any of those websites from my campaigns, and they're supposed to track. And again, they are actually extending that more. So we're going to get more data from that here in the near future. For the purpose of my ACT database, I went ahead and I made a group based off of scores. And here is that user 1 field. And I can see that some people filled out my forms several times because they're very helpful, and I really appreciate that they did that. And then some people filled it out once, which means I've collected that information as well. But I can say, hey, there is a score. Unfortunately, I can't drill down much more on those scores from here. About the only thing I can do is in the admin section of AMA, I can check out a score and, and hit edit on a score. I can view those scores. I can kind of get an idea about who's interacting with me the most. So I usually dedicate the last 10 minutes or so, 5 to 10 minutes for questions, but I try to. I know last week we ran over pretty hard. So if we have any additional questions that we want to have on these, please, by all means, get them into chat. Ken, do you have anything you want to add? All right. It looks like that's what we've got here. You guys
Sorry,
have any additional?
I had you on mute, Billy. I've had a few questions on where we're going to show the recordings. We covered that a little bit at the beginning. I'm going to take screen control in the last couple of minutes and just give a quicker, cleaner demo and actually drill into those pages. Typically, by the next day after every one of these sessions, we have the recording and we publish them there. And we've actually got some great feedback here on how to modify the videos so that people can consume them a little bit more easily. So here's our website, keystroke.ca. Scroll down, and as we covered at the beginning, here is our training. So just a quick recap. The training schedule is the schedule of classes like this. So we've got the class for today, next week, and then in May, we're going to go back to an every other week schedule. Obviously, we had an accelerated schedule because this was AMA April, and we wanted to help people learn during the downtime of the pandemic. Okay, and then the free training videos. I'm going to have to confirm because I know Leslie from SwiftPage told me that the video links may be changing, but these are all the videos. What's really nice about this is they cover them in little vignettes. So instead of watching like a 2-hour feature-length film on, say, everything you want to know about ACT, you can actually drill into very, very specific subjects like managing data, groups and companies, and you can select some very, very specific subject that is of interest to you. But the last one is keystroke training videos. And if you scroll down here, this very first tab shows you all the links. And if you click on any one of them, this was last week's, and it pops up, and you've got the ability to control. All you got to do is click past it, and it will automatically shut down. So if you go through some of these, here is our accelerator class. This was done by Michael Kadlib. It's a 2-hour class that, it's kind of the opposite of what I was just telling you. But when we set this up, this was perfect for new hires, people that are new to your company, and they've got to get, accelerated training. So this is a great tool for them. And then ACT Connect link troubleshooting. This was done recently by Billy, and then deep dives into different sections. But basically from here on are all the success trainings we've done this year. Okay. And so in the next 24 hours, hopefully before the end of tomorrow, I'll have a new button here for today's class. And that is it. So let me go give you back. There you go, Billy.
Perfect. Thank you much. So the last thing I do want to just kind of touch on real fast is one thing I always like to do is the asset dashboards. When you're in assets, you can just look at your dashboards, and this does give you everything on all of your assets, when including like right here, average time on the asset is 25 seconds, for instance. So that question earlier about can you tell how long someone's been on there? Yes, it just takes some time to fill that information in. Next week, I really hope you guys are able to join me. We're going to be looking over 2 kind of major topics, which is all about deliverability. One of them is really boring, and I think I've made it fun. And the other one is a brand new one to me. So we're going to kind of get my initial reactions to the opt-in manager. So you'll kind of have a new user look at that as well. So I really hope to see you guys next week. Have a great one.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. And as we said, the last of the series for the AMA April is next Thursday, 3 p.m. Please click through to the schedule page that I just showed for the timing of that. Okay. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.